Hello guys and gals and welcome! I seem to be missing from my own stream. But today we're going to be going over my Frenzy Barb. I finally managed to get him all finished up. And I wanted to make a video for you guys so that you could, well, see, the build. I have created a build database thing on Diablo 4.life, so if you want to check out Diablo 4.life, I will have the link to the build in the description if you want to take a look at it. But I'm going to go over it right now in person and show you it, tell you how it works and whatnot. We're going to go over it together. So first off, let's cover the equipment. So equipment, I am using Tusk Helm of Joritz the Mighty. This is very important for the build because, number one, it does have maximum fury, which you really need. It also has attack speed, which you really need. And on top of that, we also get the really nice berserking. While already berserk gives you 60% chance to become more enraged, 15% increased damage, 2 fury per second. The main thing here is that you want to activate your berserk as much as humanly possible while you're already berserk, to get access to this extra damage that it's applying. The Tusk Helm of Joritz the Mighty fits this build so perfectly it's not even funny. It applies you the attack speed, it gives you the maximum the essence, the fury, it gives you damage while berserking, it gives you pretty much the whole 9 yards, including aggressive resistance, which gives you some really nice damage reduction as well, which means you're going to be really tanky. I'm using the Aspect Steadfast Berserkers, which is the one that gives you the lucky hit up to a 35% chance to gain 2,068 Fortify whenever you deal direct damage while berserking. This is actually very, very good for this build, and you will never not be fortified. With the attack speed that we are putting out, it doesn't matter what my lucky hit chance is. It doesn't matter what the percent chance is on this. I hit so fast and so often that you will notice my fortify never drops below full. And this is all you need, really, to fortify your character. We're also utilizing the Exploiters aspect, which gives us the increased damage to unstoppable enemies. This is mainly for bosses, so that we have a faster boss kill speed. On top of this, we are also using the Volcathos folds, which gives us the Leap Earthquake, which is a part of our build. We are using the Earthquakes. And having that 23% damage reduction when the Earthquakes are active is really a bonus candy, because what we're really hoping for is this, which is we get a 48 times multiplier whenever we're standing in an Earthquake if we put this on a two-hander. And it should be 50%, but I don't have a perfect one yet. But I was able to kill Lilith with this non-perfect one, so meh. Basically what happens is anytime you have an Earthquake active, you get the 50 times multiplier, as well as the one that comes from Leap. If Leap creates an Earthquake too, you get another multiplier from that, which adds up cumulatively. On top of this, we also are using the new rune, or Glyph, which is the one called Rumble, which gives us an additional 10 times multiplier to bosses and crowd-controlled enemies for each active Earthquake. So if we have multiple Earthquakes running, then that's a good thing because we are getting, obviously, more multipliers, and more multipliers equals more damage. On top of this, we're also using the Sovereign Greaves of Perpetual Stomping. The reason why we're using these is because they give me the ability to reset Leap's cooldown with Kick or Ground Stomp. So every single time I Ground Stomp, Leap's cooldown resets. And every single time I Kick, Leap's cooldown resets. Which means I can go Earthquake, 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 right? So I can go Earthquake, 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 Kick, reset, Earthquake, Kick, reset, Earthquake, Earthquake, reset, and it's just a constant, never-ending stream of Earthquakes, which means I get a lot of additional multipliers going on. The Greaves of Perpetual Stomping, really key to the build. As you can see, I also have 4 quad reses on these, and it's amazing. I don't have to worry about my resistances at all because my boots are quad res. So, yeah. I also have Ramaladi's Magnum Opus with a 0.4. This is very important for the build. You need the 0.4 for this build to really make it work. And the higher the maximum fury on this one is very nice. The 0.4 gives you a scaling damage, which goes up with the fury that you have. And depending on how much fury you have at that particular moment, it goes up even higher. So there's other ways that you can generate fury, maximum fury, like potions and things like that, which can bring you even higher. Right now I'm sitting at 231, and you can run that on a calculator calculator. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You take 231 and you multiply that by 0.4, and you get a total 92.4 multiplier on all of my basic skills, which is pretty friggin' awesome. Now, granted, this works for anything that is used by the sword, but the cool thing is that I'm never not having maximum fury. So as long as I have maximum fury, I have maximum damage from Ramalani's Magnum Opus. I'm also using the Rapid Ghoul Blade. I decided not to put the Rapid on a two-hander because there's too many really good ones to put on the two-hander. Most notably is Earthquake and also Edge Masters, because this one is a 40 times multiplier on a two-hander, and this one here is a 50 times multiplier. And if I threw this on there, yes, I would attack a little bit faster, 30% faster, but I have so much attack speed already, I don't think I need it. Again, we're using Edge Masters with a 40 times multiplier there. We also have rings. Now, all the rings should have maximum fury on them. You want 14 maximum fury if possible, because the more fury you have, the more damage you deal. I'm also using, whenever you deal direct damage while berserking, because I always have berserking up, I inflict 30% of my base damage dealt as additional bleed damage over 5 seconds, Barbarian only. And then I also have the kick. I am using kick in this build, and you don't have to use kick in this build for the explosions, but I am, and there's a couple reasons why I'm using kick, and I'll go over those in a second, but we'll talk about that. But this one right here basically is AoE damage, so when you're doing regular dungeons, when you're doing like a nightmare dungeon or something like that, and you want to dish out massive amounts of damage, this gives you the ability to dish out massive amounts of damage to a large group of monsters, which is how this character is capable of dishing out just massive DPS to large groups, as well as really good single target damage. He's actually really good at single target and group damage, which is pretty nice. We also have the Battle Trance Amulet, which is very key to this build. The main thing that this offers us is 7 ranks to Frenzy, which I could get a better one at 9. Also, we get the additional stacks, which is very nice, as well as the damage reduction from close, and the Fury also. I really need a better Battle Trance. I need one with 14 maximum Fury. I need one with 9 ranks of Frenzy, and that would be great, but I don't have that. That covers my equipment for the most part. Let me talk about swap pieces. So if you want to swap this build to a more frenzy-based as opposed to leap-based, which I do actually really enjoy the leap quakes, but you don't have to run the leap quakes. You could go with Tybalt's Will. Now, Tybalt's Will works really well because of the unstoppable multiplier, and you can add this in relatively easily. It does have 20 maximum resource on it, which makes it a really good choice, and I'm kind of torn between the two. I like having the constant 50 times multiplier coming from the earthquakes, and Tybalt's Will doesn't really give me a constant multiplier, even though it is a 40 times multiplier. It's only when I'm unstoppable. Now, one thing I did try out for Uber Lilith, and this is something that I swapped in, was I actually took out Steel Grasp, because obviously I don't need to pull anything in. And I threw in Rallying Cry, which does make you unstoppable with the first perk. And I used that as an additional way to make myself unstoppable, and I was able to generate pretty serious single target DPS by using this combination. Thing is, though, is if I take this out, leap out, and I take Steel Chains out or Steel Grasp out, things like that, I now no longer have the AoE DPS that I would normally like, and I wouldn't run that as a normal everyday build. But with some minor tweaks, you can definitely eke out even more single target damage with your character if you pull a couple points here, pull a couple points there, and set things up a little bit more as single target. But the goal of this particular build is not specifically single target. It's let's dish out as much damage as we possibly can to everything. And that's why I'm using the Brawler's Ring. If I wanted to go to a single target build, I would go differently. And let's talk about really quickly why I'm utilizing the Brawler's Ring, and this has to do with this. So I was originally at one point not putting points into these, and the reason why I was not putting points into these is because, well, I don't really spend a lot of resource. And the Wrath of the Berserker gives you a increased Fury generation, which isn't really all that helpful. And then the second one gives you, while Wrath of the Berserker is active, for every 50 Fury you spend, you get a berserking damage bonus of 25 times up to 100 times, right? Well, the cool thing is that with the way that I have things set up, I can still spend resource and generate it really fast, and we'll go over that now. So let's talk about the skill tree. So first off, we're going to go over It's just what points I put in and why. So we have Frenzy here. Frenzy is maxed out, of course, because that's my main skill. I am utilizing Enhanced Frenzy, which gives me the 60% bonus attack speed. It also gives me 3 additional Fury when I attack. And then we're using the Combat Frenzy, which gives us the 8% damage reduction for each stack of Frenzy that we currently have. This means that whenever we are at full stacks, which is 5 stacks, we have a total of 5 times 8, which is going to get us 5 times 8, which is 40% damage reduction from just having the 5 Frenzy stacks, which is very, very nice. We put nothing in core skills at all because they're crap. And we also throw in Ground Stomp. So Ground Stomp is going to be maxed out. We want this maxed out for a reason, because this is going to reset our Leap. And Leap is really just there to give us Earthquakes. So we want this higher so that we get a shorter cooldown on it. If you only put 1 point into it, you're not going to get as good of a cooldown. And we want this reset all the time. You're going to want increased Ground Stomp duration by 1 second. And then we're also going to want the Strategic Ground Stomp, which reduces the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 1 second for each enemy damaged by Ground Stomp. The reason why we're going with this one instead of the one that generates Fury is because we want Wrath of the Berserker up as often as we can possibly get it. And then moving on to the next section, we're going to put 5 points in Kick, because Kick is going to be a major part of our damage output. And we're using Enhanced Kick, which makes them vulnerable. And then we're also utilizing Power Kick, which is going to spend all of our Fury, and it's going to dish out a massive amount of damage. So you have to understand that the way that this skill works is it burns every single point of Fury that we have, which we currently have 231. And as it burns every single point of Fury we have, it's going to do a massive amount of damage in return. So if you take a look at what we have right here, it says 4,862, but it says per 10 points of Fury. So we take our 230 and we divide that by 10 and we get 23, which means we take the 4,862, so times 4,862, which means we dish out about 111,826 kick damage before any multipliers or anything else is applied to the ability, which means we hit for, and I've seen it myself, anywhere between 1.1 million to 5 million damage, depending on the modifiers, whether we crit, whether we overpower. There's a lot of things going on. And that's not 5 million damage only to one target. That's 5 million damage to every single target within kick range. And then on top of that, we also have the crazy explosion that goes off. So every single monster that dies within 2 seconds of being kicked will explode for another 10,608 damage to all surrounding nearby enemies. And the amount of damage that is put out by this kick is absolutely massive. Now, the downside to this is it burns all of our resource. And the upside of this is it burns all of our resource. And we'll talk about that in a second. Now, I did put swiftness in because I did kind of forego some movement speed on this build. You don't necessarily have to have this. It depends on how you have your build set up. You might not need the swiftness. You could maybe put those 3 points somewhere else. 1 point under the leap. Grab the enhanced leap, which means that it lowers the cooldown if it doesn't damage any enemies. And then also grab the one that has it gain 40 fury. You don't want the slow, you want the fury. And I'm going to tell you why you want the fury. It's because this ability is going to be eating up all your fury every single time you kick, and it's got 2 charges, and you're going to kick a lot. You want to kick a lot. That's the point. So grab this one that causes the 40 fury, give you 40 fury back. It's very good. Grab 3 points into aggressive resistance to get your damage reduction, so you're really tanky. Only grab 2 points in battle fervor. This gives you berserking every single time you use a brawling skill. Both kick and leap are both brawling skills, and you're going to be spamming them. You don't need 3 points in this. It's a waste. Just grab 2. You could probably even get away with 1, to be honest, but I've kind of stuck with 2. It seems to be the right number. Grab Pit Fighter, 3 points in Pit Fighter, because it increases your damage versus close enemies, and you're going to have a lot of close damage on this build, so definitely grab 3 points in Pit Fighter. It also gives you a 6% distant damage reduction, which isn't bad. Also, grab No Mercy, which is you have a 9% increased critical strike chance versus immobilized, stunned, or slowed enemies. You're going to be slowing everything with the bleeds from Hamstring, and you're also going to be stunning everything with Ground Stomp, so you're going to get a pretty healthy amount of extra crit chance there from No Mercy. Down here, you're going to grab 1 point Hamstring, so you get the slow. Don't put any more than 1. There's no point. You're going to grab 1 point in Steel Grasp, 1 point in Enhanced Steel Grasp, and another point in Fighter Steel Grasp for the berserking, because honestly, it's just really nice to have all the berserking. You don't really need the additional charge. You really don't. And I'll explain that soon. Grab 1 point in Thick Skin. You don't need any more than that. Grab 3 points in Counter Offensive, because while you have Fortify over 50% of your maximum life, you deal 12 times increased damage, which is excellent. You're going to always be fortified. Grab Defensive Stance, which is going to give you a little bit of extra defense. You only need 2 points in that because you're going to need those elsewhere. Grab 3 points in Duelist, which is going to give you 9% increased attack speed when using one-handed weapons. You need 3 points in Tempered Fury, which is the one that gives you 9 maximum Fury. You don't need to put points in Invigorating Fury because you're not going to be spending Fury to that degree. You could potentially take 1 point from here and put 1 point in Invigorating Fury if you want to, although I think you'll find that your healing is more than sufficient, and you don't necessarily need this one, and this one is going to be the better buy. As for the other one here, Furious Impulse, you don't really need that one either, so don't worry about it. Grab Wrath of the Berserker, grab Prime Wrath of the Berserker, and also grab Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. Supreme Wrath of the Berserker is where you're going to get a lot of your damage bumps if you're utilizing the Mighty Kick, the Power Kick. If you don't utilize Power Kick, if you don't go this route, then you don't need to put points in here. You don't need to put points in either one of these, because neither one of these is useful to you unless you actually are burning resource. If you're not burning resource, if you go with, say, Mighty Kick instead, which is still a pretty good kick, you don't burn resource when you use it, and then therefore you don't need either one of these. You could maybe put 1 point in Prime Wrath of the Berserker just simply for the movement speed bonus, but you don't need Supreme Wrath of the Berserker at all, because if you're not spending resource, you're not going to get any benefit from this one. As for the ultimate, you are going to put in Unconstrained. This is a Berserk build, so you want the increases the Berserking maximum duration, and you want the damage bonus increased as well to 60% over the others. None of the other ones are really useful for this particular build. Core Skills on Bridal Rage means absolutely nothing to us. Gushing Wounds, we're not a bleed build, really. We do have some bleeds, but we'll talk about that. Walking Arsenal, not really a good one either, because we don't swap weapons. Hardly any at all, so it's not really going to be helpful for us. And that pretty much covers the skill tree. So let's take a look at our expertise here. So, of course, we are using swords, which is the main thing that we're using. So when we are using one-handed swords, we get Lucky Hit up to a 10% chance to gain 5 Fury. When hitting crowd-controlled enemy, double this chance when using 2 swords. Killing a crowd-controlled enemy grants 15% increased attack speed for 3 seconds. Double this amount when using 2 swords. We also are using the technique slot for the two-handed sword, so we get the 20% of all direct damage that we deal is inflicted as bleeding damage. It's nice because it basically gives us permanent bleed, which is really, really good for what we're trying to do. On top of this, we also have our vampiric powers, so let's go over the vampiric powers, and we'll talk about those as well. First off, we're using Undying. Undying is absolutely insane, and it actually heals you even if you don't attack anything. And because we are an attack speed build, because we attack so ridiculously fast, Undying actually has the ability to heal us to full in a matter of seconds. Let me see if I can show you how this ability works real quick. Let me go let somebody wail on me for a second so I lose some HP. And I'm going to show you how this ability works to heal you even when you're not actually attacking anything. So if I just let myself get wailed on a little bit here and then back out, obviously I'm hurt, right? Ow, it hurts. Well, I can literally just stand here and I can just swing my swords to heal myself. Watch this. You guys ready? And that's with no attack speed bonuses. That's with no attack speed bonuses at all. I can still heal myself that quickly. Now, there's other vampiric powers that I chose, and one of the other ones is Ravenous. Ravenous gives me a pretty huge attack speed bonus of 44.8%, and it actually goes up because of Moonrise, but it basically just gives me a lucky hit of up to a 20% chance to increase my attack speed by 40% of my total movement speed bonus for 6 seconds. Now, this goes up a lot because of other movement speed bonuses that I have that are triggered later, but you can't really see it while you're fighting. I'm also using Hectic. Hectic is a very important part of this build. It involves, for every 5 basic skills that I use, I gain a 2-second reduction to a random cooldown on my bar. Now, I have a lot of cooldowns. Stomp is a cooldown. Seal Grasp is a cooldown, Leap is a cooldown, Wrath of Berserker is a cooldown, and Kick is a cooldown. The entire character is based off of cooldowns with the exception of Frenzy, which is my main ability. So I am constantly and never-endingly resetting cooldowns with this ability because of how fast this character attacks. I mean, ridiculously fast. Anticipation is a nice one, although you can also use Hemomancy. I actually kind of prefer Hemomancy when I'm doing dungeons. However, this does mean that your Berserk is up more often if you use the Anticipation ability versus the Hemomancy. It really is up to you. I think you can swap these back and forth at your leisure, but Hemomancy is kind of insane in the amount of damage it does to like everything around you. It also heals you when you damage targets as well, so it's a nice ability to sustain. However, having Wrath of the Berserker up constantly with the Anticipation is certainly nice as well. And now we come to the meat and potatoes, which is Moonrise. Moonrise gives a 160 times basic damage buff. It is absolutely insane, and all you have to do is attack 5 times, which literally stacks it for 10 seconds. And once you have that 160 times multiplier on your basic skill damage, your damage shoots through the roof. You also gain a 15% movement speed and a 4% attack speed bonus, which stacks 4 times, so 4-4, 4-4, which is 16% increased attack speed. And the movement speed also increases the attack speed of Ravenous. So as we increase our movement speed, we also increase our attack speed, and our attacks start to go absolutely insane bonkers. Now, how does the rotation look? It's actually a pretty simple rotation. So you run in and you start attacking. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to murder everything and build up your Fury bar. The higher your Fury gets, the better your damage will be. The faster that you attack, the faster you attack even more. And eventually you build up all the modifiers. Now, you can't build up modifiers on somebody like this, but let's go ahead and just murder these guys. Of course, this is just a regular thing. We'll have to hop into a dungeon here so I can show you more realistically what kind of damage this guy outputs. And as you play him, you'll definitely have fun. The rotation is Leap and then Kick, which actually does your reset on Leap. And then you can ground stomp. You can have multiple earthquakes going at any given time. These guys are so weak. I can't even build up my rotation here. This is terrible. As you can see, you can very easily pull in the monsters, dish out massive damage with the Kick, which of course expends all of the resource, and then you have to build it back up. That is a little bit of a downside, expending all the resource, I think, because once you expend all the resource, you don't have the easiest time building it back up instantaneously, which is why I recommend utilizing the Leap that gives the Fury and a lot of the other ones, because this way you can build the resources back up pretty darn fast. I also have a video that should be up probably before this one or the same time or something, of me killing Uber Lilith with this character, and I did it in about, what was it, 104 seconds, which isn't too bad. Let's do a quick run through a dungeon, just real quick. What do I got in here? I got some 70s. Let's pick one that's not going to get my butt handed to me. Don't want to look bad on camera. 15% more physical damage. And that looks good. That looks good. Let's try this one. Let me go get my butt kicked real quick for you guys. Now the Paragon board, which I haven't covered yet, by the way, let me just do a quick jaunty alouettes on the Paragon board. Obviously, you're not going to be able to just like copy my entire board from this, but let's hit the highlights, shall we? Because I think I forgot to do that. We do not grab Warbringer because we don't spend enough to actually utilize that properly. And it doesn't matter anyway. We have our own Fortify source. We grab the Warbringer board, though, because on the Warbringer board is these Maximum Fury nodes, and you want all the Maximum Fury nodes so that you can get more damage for this character. The more Maximum Fury you get, the more damage you deal. You want the Carnage, which gives you, while berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed by 2% up to 16% for 6 seconds. You also want the Blood Rage, which killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to grant berserking for 5 seconds. And your damage is increased by 25% of your damage while berserking bonus. And the current bonus is 40 times multiplier, which is really nice. You also want the Flawless Technique, which is damaging enemies with one-handed weapons, increases your critical strike chance by 1% times for 4 seconds up to 8 times. This can only happen once per skill cast or twice per second while channeling. And as for glyphs, I'm utilizing the Earthquake glyph, the Rumble glyph, which gives me the Earthquake skill damage along with the multipliers while many Earthquakes are active. I'm utilizing Ambidextrous, which gives me the increased multiplier while dual-wielding weapons, one-handed weapons. Seething, which gives me the increased berserking, or is it, well, increased damage while wielding a sword. And then I'm also using the Ire, which gives me the increased damage while berserking, including the reduced damage from elites. This one also gives me, while wielding a sword, you gain 3 fury when you kill an enemy, which really isn't important to the build, but it's nice to have a little bit of extra fury increase. And then finally, we're using Undaunted because we're constantly fortified, so we gain the 10% damage reduction from Undaunted, and then we also gain the increased damage while we're fortified, which is nice. For the full Paragon board, check the link in the description so that you can just copy it verbatim. Now, granted, generally when you start combat, it is a little dicey, and it's really because your damage reduction doesn't start to kick in until you build a couple stacks, and this can be an issue with this particular build. So if you're having trouble with the damage reduction not building up quickly, you're going to have to build the stacks. It's only 5 stacks. You only have to hit 5 times. Once you hit 5 times, you have the full stacks, and then once you hit a certain number of times, you're also going to have your Fortify relatively quickly. These monsters are actually so weak, I can't even, like, build up Fortify on them. I should have picked a higher dungeon. It's only 74. It's kind of a weak one. As you can see, I'm pretty much just one-shotting most of these monsters. Let me see if I can find some elites so they can actually kick my butt and make me look like an idiot for saying the dungeon's easy. They're all dead. They're all dead. Alright, let's pick up a Bloodstone. Next. I really am just like one-shotting every single monster. 74 is just way too low for this guy, I guess. That was the pull kick combo. Absolutely excellent. Pull kick combo is insane. I haven't really had a good chance to utilize it yet because most of these monsters are just too weak. But I'll get a good one off here eventually. The pull kick combo basically involves spending all 230 resource on just absolutely demolishing a pack of monsters. It's great. Ooh, now this is a spicy meatball of a pack. Kick him. Why is these monsters like stuck in the floor? And now we're back to the weaklings again. Maybe we'll get a cursed shrine or something. That'll be great. Ooh, suppressor. Oh, lethal too. Oh, let's go, boys. Woo! I kind of feel like a Mosaic Sin from Diablo 2. I got so much wrapped up in these charges, these stacks, whatever you want to call it, and like as soon as my stacks go down, I'm super weak. But as long as I can keep my stacks up, it's really just like whatever. I just walk through the monsters like they're made out of paper. Sometimes I do have trouble keeping stacks up. I've noticed a couple times, especially with those monsters that blind you, you know, the blinding effect that literally stops you from attacking or doing anything while you're standing in the blinding effect. Because this character is so dedicated to attacking, he heals himself by attacking, he gets his attack speed by attacking, he gets his damage reduction by attacking. I mean, the whole 9 yards, everything comes from attacking the monsters. And if you stop attacking for any prolonged period of time, things can go very bad for this character, and I've seen it happen. It's kind of insane how quickly it can turn on you if you just stop attacking for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is really all it takes. If you stop attacking for 5 seconds, all your buffs go down, pretty much. And you lose all your DR, you lose all your attack speed, you lose everything in one fell swoop, and it's pretty nasty. And you have to build everything back up. Now, granted, it doesn't take you very long to build everything back up, and I guess that's maybe not such a bad thing. But if you run into a monster who is constantly stunning you, freezing you, like putting you down in a, I don't even know how I died there, putting you down in like a crowd control effect. Of course, I took my hand off the keyboard too, which didn't help. The problem is that those crowd control effects that they're constantly applying to you can stop you from building your stacks. And if you stop building your stacks for whatever reason, it can lead to your death. And I'm not going to say that this build is perfect or anything. Not by any means. But it definitely is a really fun one so far. Let's see if I can get this guy out of the way. I'm not even sure where all this damage is coming from. One of these monsters is putting out some numbers. Oh, I guess I killed them all really quickly, though, so... Well, whoever killed me, I guess he didn't have it in him to do it a second time. And that's the dungeon. I didn't want to take like forever on this. I just wanted to show you guys the character. You know, at least give you a practical example of the character. I still got some Paragon points to spend. I was only level 95 when I killed Uber Lilith, so I had 5 more levels. I could have done a lot more damage to Uber Lilith in those 5 levels because there was a penalty thing going on there. I think this pretty much covers the build. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. If you want to check out my Uber Lilith kill with this guy, it will be up probably the same day. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when I'm just talking about my frenzy Barbarian. And as always, keep watching.